work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey. And you're rocking with your favorite vets with this first formation morning sports talk. So get ready to fall in with it as we get ready to go over what's been cracking, what's happening in sports, some of the sports, of course. Tapping in, if getting to it right into it, what we thought, what we expected, possibly over the weekend, as we know. LSU punched their ticket to get back into the College World Series, which they face a familiar foe, a SEC conglomerate in the College World Series, as LSU versus the Florida Gators. Kicked off on Saturday after LSU took care of business over the number one ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Taking care of business, like I said, knocked them off on Thursday by the score of 2-0 with a late game heroics 11th inning 2-run homer to end the game. So, of course, they kick off on Saturday. LSU faces off again, Florida against Florida. Of course, as we stated, another game in which it took 11 innings to take care of the side. LSU ends up winning that game 4-3. One game up in a 3-game series. So the expectations were high coming into yesterday. Florida, LSU at it again, but this time it was a little bit different. A plethora of home runs annihilates one team and puts the other one in the position to win the series tonight as Florida takes care of LSU by the score of 24-4. Grand slams, back to backs, just a display of hitting, well but placed balls, pitching, and all that. Now puts both teams in a do or die situation as they will face up today at 6 p.m. That's 1800 military time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to decide who is this year's College World Series champions. Florida, LSU. We'll see who walks away with it. So, if you continue and take a look at, well, you know, there's plenty of hardball going on. Of course, that's the collegiate era. That being of what we consider amateur in a sense. On the pro level, a plethora of games going on, of course, rattling off just last night's games. The Washington, I almost said the Wizards. I don't know why the Wizards in my brain. The Washington Nationals get the dub over San Diego Padres 8-3. Los Angeles Dodgers needed them to get that win. The Arizona Diamondbacks faced off against the San Francisco Giants, getting the dub 5-2. The Los Angeles Angels fall to the Colorado Rockies by a score of 4-3. The Chicago White Sox beat the Boston Red Sox 4-1. The Minnesota Brewers just get past the Cleveland Guardians in extra innings in the 10th inning with a 5-4 victory. The Miami Marlins take out the Pittsburgh Steelers with a goose egg by the score of 10-0. The Kansas City Royals take an L to the Tampa Bay Rays by the score 3-1. Atlanta Braves gets past the Cincinnati Reds by just 1 point with the 7-6 victory. The Toronto Blue Jays blow out the Oakland Athletics by a score of 12-1. The New York Yankees scoop past the Rangers by the score of 5-3. The Baltimore Orioles take out the Seattle Mariners by the score of 3-2. The Mets fall to the Phillies 7-6. Minnesota Twins take out the Detroit Tigers by the score of 6-3. St. Louis Cardinals in the World Tour London Series knock off the Chicago Cubs by the score of 7-5. And last but not least, in extra inning, the Dodgers fall to the Houston Astros by the score of 6-5, actually winning that series 2-1, and going on about their business with that bah humbug, if I had to say so myself. In action, the ladies' action, the NBA, WNBA is still in effect. Had a course of 3 games last night, 2 Commissioner Cups games, as one was very exciting. The New York Liberty were able to handle business and take out the Washington Mystics by the score of 89-88 in overtime, just edging past them. The Connecticut Sun continued their dominance over the WNBA. Second best team in the WNBA at the score of 12-3 with a 96-72 win over the Chicago Sky last night. And of course, the Los Angeles Lakers take care of business, getting back the Los Angeles Sparks. I'm sorry, the LA Sparks get to business, taking out the Dallas Wings by the score of 93-83. Of course, games that's on the slate for tonight. Just one, the Indiana Fever and the WNBA leading Las Vegas Aces will face off tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2100 for the military-minded. The Aces putting in their 12-1 league standings on the line against the Fever's 5-8. As you know, the Los Angeles Fever are actually getting pretty dominant. I mean, I'm not saying dominant. But one of their players that to be on of Boston from the South Carolina, just drafted this year, is putting her is showing dominance of first one of rookie voted to the WNBA All-Star. So in her first year, she's already All-Star. So looking at that, probably good things to come. Good morning, Madam Miss Cole. Good morning. Glad to have your formation this morning. Hope you're doing graciously and enjoying your day. Glad to have your formation with us. Where are we at? Okay, so a lot was going on. A couple of things last night. I don't know if y'all caught. You know what? Actually, let me get into this. Let me get into a little bit of something else, because I was about to say I was checking out the BET Awards last night, and some things came up. First and foremost, of course, Busta Rhymes receiving his lifetime achievement award, in which in listening to him speak on that, I really took some jewels from him, and listen to it. It's interesting when you listen to a person and how their life has gone or what they've done in their life. And Busta Rhymes was very interesting, just in that fact, which I believe that a lot of times it translates into so many different things. But not to get into that. Definitely taking a look, however, at what's going on in the NFL, the NBA. If you're into boxing, some jewels coming up in a matter of days. Of course, you have first and foremost Bud Crawford, Errol Spence at the end of July, one of the first top bouts, and then later on in the year in September, I believe, even I think on September 16th, which seems to be a very special day. You have the Charlo versus Canelo, in which they're going to do battle, in which you start to get into see a lot of the guys that should be boxing each other are boxing each other at the top tiers, starting to take on one another, knock each other off, and continue dominance in one way or another. What else we had? What else we have? More the amateur front, of course. If you haven't known, if you don't know, you should know now. Military basketballs in full on center stage as we get ready to get into the AAU men's and women's Battle of the Shields down in Orlando, putting some of the best talent in the military against one another in the upper style tournament to where it doesn't know what your allegiance is. It just matters that the fact that you get to come out and play. That's going to be going down in just a couple of weeks, 7th through the 9th of July in Orlando. If you're there, pull up, show your support, and then come on here and talk about it. Then after that, in September, the Military Basketball Association will be having their All-Star event, putting their top players in their league on center stage to link up, play against one another. Let's see how that goes. Of course, we already know coaches, Coach Daniel and Coach Alex Miller will be taking the helm of the two teams. So of course, them just doing battle in the Military Basketball Association's championship game just a couple of weeks ago. Of course, gave them the honor of being able to coach the all respective all-star teams. So it should be a great showing to see their wit, their grit to face off against one another with a whole team full of talented military or armed forces players. So that's something else to be seen. Got the all service camps getting ready to start off as now they're taking applications for men's and women's all Army, all Navy, all Air Force, all that going down. So of course, if you have somebody that you know, get them in, have them submit their applications, and they might be one of the players selected after going through their rounds, of course. So, like I was saying, getting into a little NBA real quick. Not much going on after the draft that happened just last week. So now what you have is we're getting ready for free agency. We get an opportunity to take a look and see who's to who, what of going to be making moves. I don't know if everyone caught a picture just the other day. Victor Wembanyama in the San Antonio Arena, I think it's the AT&T Stadium, putting up a couple of shots in which he missed a good amount. Of course, I mean, it was just a shoot around. It was interesting that people was looking at that and saying and talking about the fact that he missed. I think he took 2 3-pointers, one mid-range elbow shot, and then basically finishing the session up with passing the ball to his to the trainer putting it up off the glass or putting it up on oop. Wembanyama short taking care of it in short term. That guy is huge, is very tall, and then walking off into the tunnel. Of course, you can tell that he was a little upset that he had missed the shots, especially with the cameras out there. But he has plenty of time to get that taken care of as Victor Wembanyama, the biggest prospect since probably LeBron James, Zion Williamson put together, has elected not to play in the FIBA World Cup as he looks to get ready for the his rookie season in the NBA. So Victor Wembanyama is not going to end up playing against helping out his country of Italy in the World Cup. He decided to sit that one out and go and get ready for his rookie season in the NBA. So we will not get a chance to see Victor Wembanyama in World Cup play in just a couple of weeks as they get ready to face them. They start to get into it in August as they do their lead up for them to compete in the World Cup. Team still being built. Interesting enough, on the flip side of that, Paolo Banchero, last year's NBA, or I guess you could say this year, the 2022 NBA Rookie of the Year, has elected to play for the United States World Cup team as opposed to playing for France as well as he was, or Italy, one of the two that he was going to play for. Now that puts them in, so it's probably scrambling because they thought they was going to have two young talents that was going to be able to come and do damage to probably put them in position to face off against um, the U.S. if it came down to that. What's good, Key? Glad to have you formation this morning. What's going on? How you doing? What is Philly going to be doing in free agency? What's the T? So of course, having that, we with all that being said, I don't know. For me personally, going back into it, of course, everyone deserves the right to change their mind or do what they have to do. In this case, um, which is definitely a point in which you have two individuals, young individuals, with an opportunity, with option, obviously, to to do what it is. So who can fault them for deciding one, I'm not going to play, the other deciding I'm not going to play for this team, I'm going to play for that team. When I look at it for me, just for the sense of conversation, I'm like, yo, if it was I understand I have the option. Well, first let's back it up a little. First and foremost, I wonder how much of a strain or how much of a strain would it have been on Victor if he had played in the FIBA World Cup. Now, I do understand potentially it could put him in this in bad sorts. Take in mind, it is a World Cup. At this point, all they're doing is playing for a qualifier or automatic bid the to the to the Olympics. So it's not to say that Victor Wembanyama will not play for his country at all. He's just not going to play for his country in the World Cup. But I'm very sure they like to have every person on hand. We never know. You never know what can happen in state because a player can. You never know. Just never know. Honestly, um, I think it was last year before last, or within the last couple of years, the U.S., which is always considered the powerhouse and the standard bearer for excellence in international basketball, had they finished with a I think with a bronze a couple of not too long ago, or silver or something like that. So in terms, they're beatable, or we're beatable. So anytime you have opportunity, you want to strike where you can. And having the Victor Wembanyama, I'm very sure would have been gracious to have him um, in the building on the roster to do what he needed to do. Now, when you go and flip that and say that he's not going to do it because he wants to prepare for a season, then first and foremost, it doesn't alleviate him prepping for the season for the most part, except for he's not going to be working with his newly drafted teams trainers and doing what they feel like, what they want him to do, what they want him to work on, probably dieting, maybe bulk building a little bit here and there, probably things of that nature. So he in that aspect, but he's still going to be getting reps against grown man, against some of the players in which he will face off against in the league, especially when he runs into the U.S. team where there's going to be a plethora of players that he's going to face off against the league all on one team. Um, but in state, it's understandable. I get it. I understand uh, what goes along with that. Paulo Banchero, on the other hand, doing this thing, but he elected not not only he is so his is different. He didn't elect not to play. He elected not to play for the team in which he initially said he was going to play for. Now putting himself to where he's dual citizenship, just like of course Joel Embiid, who's another dual citizenship, has a dual citizenship, where puts him to where he can play for his team of African descent, or he can play for the U.S. It hasn't been decided yet in case of Joel Embiid, but like I just said, Paulo Banchero has elected and decided, hey, I'm going to play for the United States. and leaving the team. I think it's France. I think it was France without his services. Again, for me, I think even though I would have felt like I think I want to go ahead and play for the U.S. I think I would have kept my loyalty where I last stated. At least for this year, I would have ran it back, played in France, and then looked at okay, the next year I probably would have been like, you know what, I'm just going to play for the U.S. But I'm very sure his agent, him and his agents spoke, and he spoke with family, and he came to the decision of I'm going to go ahead and take my services, play for the U.S. World Cup team, basically helping the United States to establish themselves potentially with a win. Matter of fact, as I speak on it, who is so far on the FIBA team, U.S. FIBA team? Let's see that. Let's see who they're working with so far. Uh, well, I want to make sure I'm at a credible source. I don't want to give y'all uh, no BS. Let me make sure. Bear with me for a second. I should have already had this pulled up. Just like Patti LaBelle should have knew the lyrics to Tina Turner's song last night. I'm sorry, disregard my last statement. Oh, let me see. Was this last year's? Uh-huh. Yeah, I think that was last year's. So let me see. So this might be. So of course, okay. So per the so far CBS News reports, currently on the roster for the USA um, World Cup team, Anthony Edwards from the Timberwolves, guard for the Timberwolves, Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers, Austin Reeves from the Lakers, Kyle Bridges and Bobby Portis, Nets and Bucks respectively, Jalen Brunson, Knicks, Derek Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler from the Jazz, Cam Johnson from the Nets, Brandon Ingram from the Pelicans, and of course, Paolo Banchero coming in as well. So currently, that's what we're looking at. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players so far. So, with that being said, again, just going back to the conversation, me myself, I think I would have went ahead and kept it to where I would have kept that same energy and played for my team. Initially stated, although I knew that it wasn't going to go that way, go as planned, I would still put forth the effort. So I think I would have stayed with that team. But of course, there's no problem with Banchero, Wembanyama, or even Joel Embiid choosing to do differently. I think winning is the key. It's the main focal point, and of course, I think what they want to do is get the get the ring, get a medal, get all that. That's the reason for it all. Myself, I'm just huge on competition and the competitiveness of it, not just the competitive edge. Unless I give myself the edge through training and play, but just the competitiveness of it. And you can't do that if you have a bunch of top tier players that decide to link up and get together and play. That's hard to do. Now, of course, for me as a fan, I would prefer that, but me as a player, I don't like that. So, or me as a player, I didn't like that to where I want to be able to say that I beat this individual, I beat this person, and go forth and with that knowing that that I took care of some of the best players on my route to go get a championship, as opposed to I played with these best players on and we went and got a championship. So that being the same thing with the medal and the cup in the World Cup play, the FIBA World Cup play. So just as we stated, a couple of let me see when I get something else. A lot going on as in the sense where you got a couple of people looking at getting paid, securing a bag. It's bag season. The NBA free agency is about to kick off in just a couple of days. Today is Monday. We got 3 more days in the wake up, and then we'll be in the thrall into um, the NBA season, where we get to see who is going to be a new face in a new place. Currently, we know one place that isn't going anywhere. That is that of Naz Reid Center for the backup center for the Minnesota Timberwolves, as he was able to sign a 3-year deal, $42 million. 3 years equals out to $14 million a year. Ensuring that he doesn't leave, he stays in the fold with the Minnesota Timberwolves backup center to Rudy Gobert, uh, Carl Anthony Towns, and basically in that mix. He basically he was out the last week of the season and throughout the playoffs, in which the Minnesota Timberwolves end up falling to the future champions Denver Nuggets in I think 6 games. He didn't play due to a wrist injury. Of course, actually, there's a few people that didn't play in that game, but in short order, they was taking care of the handed, and they are now currently going on to of course, with the Denver Nuggets, of course, ended up being champions. So, but Naz Reid, of course, went from being a expected draft pick to a undrafted free agent, and now has played himself to where he is possibly indispensable on a team, uh, putting forth the efforts, and now he's just gotten a sign and extension, putting him in a position. Basically, it's like I said, it's a 3-year deal, but of course, the coveted 2 years with the player option is what it is. So actually, he's under contract for an additional 2 years, in which he can decide in 2025, 26. Let's see, 23, 20, 23, 24, 24, 25. Yes, 25, 26 to opt out and go into free agency, or potentially be extended. Not have to do that, get extended, and not once again not touch free agents again, and just basically continue to play for the team that gave him an opportunity, possibly. On the other side of the spectrum, you have another player that is looking to make his way or put the stakes down. Josh Hart, who was traded during the season to the New York Knicks, um, himself and the Knicks agreed to a extension to get because he was supposed to even opt out or opt in or decline his contract that would get him paid $12 million for 1 more year of serviceability. Him and the Knicks were able to come to agreement to extend his period till Thursday, being that on the day of the excuse me, being that on the day of the start of free agency. He's so in that case, when I look at that and hear that, I'm like, if you are going to, well, now I think about it, maybe it's a different, because I'm about to say, if you are looking to opt out or go about your way, wouldn't it be, would you really need 4 extra days to do that, or a whole week to do that? um Well, I guess it does when you take, because initially I was going to say, I think that basically you're looking at, you're going to opt out, and you just need to make sure. But I'm very sure his team is doing their due diligence to find out if there's a market or what the market is for him, and they just need a little more time um, before he can go ahead and make that decision. Of course, to leave 12 million on the table, um, I don't think I would, but I mean, of course, it's different. He's been in the league for a couple of years, so that money might be different to him. Insight is when you take a look at it, he is doing what's best for him. Most likely, I think he opts in. Uh, Not saying that wouldn't be a market for him, but I think the him playing with next to Jalen Bronson sprung the Knicks a different look. So I think you have a situation where where Josh Hart decides to opt in and take care of that. Um, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Oh my goodness. Um, Sorry, I had to get some information out. Um, So now, basically, with that gets closer and closer. Just over the course of the weekend, you have conversations, and there's been stuff in which is unfathomable to me. One of those things being that the Philadelphia 76ers, right? If you knew what I was sitting up in the sit to say, but the Philadelphia 76ers are looking to potentially um oh no, not looking. What they tried to do, what the 76ers tried to do is they tried to offer up Tobias Harris to the Cleveland Cavaliers for some draft picks, Jared Allen, and even Mobley. I will let that sink in for a second. I say it again. The 76ers tried to offer up Tobias Harris for draft pick or picks, plural, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So, what do you think can take this particular particular deal? When you look at that, are you looking at it as it's the front office from the 76ers uh, disrespectful, or are they just trying to do their best and not leaving any stone unturned in reference to making deals and trying to make their team better? Would you, if you were the GM for the Cleveland Cavaliers, feel disrespected if you were approached with a deal for Tobias Harris? I'm not saying Tobias Harris is a slouch, but you was asked for a deal for Tobias Harris to give Tobias Harris up for even Mobley, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and picks in the draft. Future, whether it was the future or whatever like that, are you disrespected? I'm disrespected. I feel disrespected in that case. You can code it as you want it. That is disrespectful. Of course, we know they're looking to move. Of course, I think Tobias Harris has a pretty large, maybe somewhat of a hefty contract, so that could be part of it. Of course, they need to move, send out, bring in the what they send out for the most part, but that type of move, yeah, I could maybe see if there's like, okay, Jared Allen and picks, or maybe even Mobley head up, possibly. Although I don't think the money matches in that case. But Jared Allen, Mobley, and picks, they could have been like, let me get Mobley and his brother, because I think his brother plays for them as well. They could have ran that I think it was a Jonte Mobley or something like that, or that might be Porter's brother, Jonte Porter. But in any case, they could have ran it like that. That is not what they did. That is the disrespect. So disrespectful. So disrespectful in my case. But in any case, of course, it didn't happen. Mobley and Allens remain in Cleveland. The picks remain in Cleveland, and the Tobias Harris remains in Philly. Donovan taps in. What's up, Donovan? What's good, brother? Glad to have your formation with us. Draymond and Harrison Barnes at the forwards for the Kings in the West is nothing special. So, Donovan, I kind of beg to differ with you, man. So this is why I say that, right? Some things came to light as I was looking and checking in and checking some stuff out. So, of course, as if you didn't know, Draymond Green opted out of a $27.3 million contract to become a unrestricted free agent this year, and try his hand in free agency. Harrison Barnes was not picked up for his his last year of his contract with the Sacramento Kings, what makes him an unrestricted free agent too. The difference is one decided to become an unrestricted free agent, the other one was basically quote unquote released from his team, and they did not bring him back. Probably with the idea of, if we bring you back, we're going to bring you back on a lesser contract. Uh, but before we bring you back, we allow you to go ahead and see who was willing to pick you up. So in retrospect to that, when you look at it, right, Draymond Green in Sacramento may not be bad. It might be even doable. At this point, they currently have a core of Malik Monk, Darren Fox, uh, Horter, Sabonis, uh, and Keegan is their core right now. That's their core. So taking out Harrison Barnes and a Draymond Green could be advantageous, being that, okay, yes, you might lose something on the offensive end as opposed to a score. Not to say that Draymond can score, because he showed that if given in spurts, he can put up 15, 20 points, but that's not what he would be expected to do consistently. But it's what he can basically uh, account for any of that with the ability to be a passing big, as he can serve as a small ball center in their offense, and be able to do Joker-esque things as along with Sabonis. So it doesn't look that bad. Taking consideration, Mike Brown coached Draymond Green, as he was a with the Golden State organization for a couple of years, so he's been in the room and see how Draymond works, what he does. So Draymond could potentially add to the Sacramento Kings in the retrospect of being like the other day we had a conversation, we spoke and asked who is going to play Draymond Green top dollar like that, 30 million essence of Russell, up to 30 million a year or something like that, for him to come in uh, to a team that he doesn't have the chemistry with, to a team that probably isn't going to he's not going to probably play the same type of way in which he plays in Golden State. And that still remains to be the question. But however, Sacramento makes sense. It does make sense. Like, he's not going to probably start off with that type of chemistry like he had, in which technically that is the pull to me. In this case, though, I definitely, if I was Draymond, I think I'm leaving Golden State. To where additionally, of course, in the mindset it could put in me for me is that, hey, if I can go somewhere else and win a championship, I can say it, I did it without my brothers who I won 4 championships with. You know what I'm saying? Like Shaq leaving LA or Kobe doing it without Shaq. Like you always want to know that end state is if I was to leave or bounce or get out of an organization, that I can go on with my winning ways and pull up somewhere else, be victorious, and show that I can do it without this individual. So all that conversation goes out the window. Can he do it? Can he win without this individual? We've seen it in college football when we see Patrick Mahomes went and slayed the dragon, took out the competition, ended up winning yet another Super Bowl without who was expected to be in that. Well, in my words, without who he expected who was needed in that entire Hill. Gets another one, and there goes the story. Tom Brady did it 1 year removed. Well, actually, just a couple of months removed from his beloved coach, the tandem of Belichick and Tom Brady. Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay, gets him another championship. Bill Belichick hasn't smelled the second round of the playoffs since Tom Brady left. So, you know what I'm saying? That stuff comes into play. So, of course, me personally, I'm looking for that. I want to sit up and say I was able to go and do it without this individual if that was the situation. So, I don't see why. Additionally, it's not the same for why wouldn't it be the same for Draymond Green? But I think he can potentially. Sacramento is looking might be a little bit better. Now, as far as get Harrison Barnes, the market for him might be different. It might not be as robust as it is for Draymond Green. But it remains to be seen. Donovan says Cleveland would never take that trade. We'll send a dumb offer back. Donovan Mitchell and Mobley for Tyrese Maxey and a second round pick. Like I said, Donovan, I think it was a situation to where they was just basically looking to put it out there that maybe Tobias Harris is on the block, or maybe that even Harris is on the block, or if not that they're willing or just to see what the temperature was. Like, okay, what was they going to say? Or maybe open the dialogue and conversation to the fact of we're willing to will and deal. But like you said, in state, what it becomes out is that it didn't happen. And I don't foresee it happening in any way, form, or fashion. So, like I said, but we're going to see how it starts to roll out, of course, as these teams look to get into it soon. Open up the door for these movements. Nothing has happened as yet. If we go through and take a look at some of the moves the teams that have been made, the most recent moves, of course, is that of the draft. Of course, starting off with Atlanta, we already know currently they haven't made any moves in free agency or trade. However, they did pick up Kobe Buffkin, 15th overall in the draft, Muhammad Guy, 39th overall in the draft, and Seth Lundy, 46th overall in the draft. They have yet to have lost any players, but they are currently looking at 2 free agents in Trent Forrest, who is a restricted free agent, as well as Aaron Holiday, who is an unrestricted free agent. Boston Celtics currently only picked up Jordan Washington draft with the 38th selection. They are down to 6 free agents, that being Grant Williams restricted, Mike Muscola, the team option, but actually I stand corrected. Mike Muscola was traded to I think he's traded to the Washington Wizards in that 3-way trade with Memphis, Washington, and Boston. So Muscola's out the door. Blake Griffin's a unrestricted free agent who is most likely probably not going to be brought back. The Danilo Gallinari opted in on his player option and then was traded to the Washington Wizards. Unfortunate situations where that happens when you opt in. JD Davison, also a restricted free agent. Let's go down to some teams that I feel like that matter. Um, mm, uh, Interesting enough, the Chicago Bulls were drafted Julian Phillips, 35th overall in the draft in the second round. Free agents in Chicago: Andre Drummond, Ayo Dosunmu, Derrick Jones Jr. He has a player's option. Terry Taylor, Nikola Vucevic unrestricted, Kobe White restricted, Javante Green unrestricted. I wonder where Vucevic is going to go. What is the market for Nikola Vucevic? Is he going to pull anything back? Will um, will Chicago offer him? How late does Chicago offer him? Of course, he gets the opportunity to hear the pitches. The unfortunate thing is, honestly, is that as an unrestricted free agent, unlike the restricted free agency, unrestricted free agent, the player gets the opportunity to play hardball, gets the opportunity to like bluff if he won't. You know what I'm saying? With unrestricted free agency, if a team comes and offers that said player X amount of dollars and years, then the team in which the player played for last can counter that offer, in which they would be able to keep them in house. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in unrestricted free agency, because what happens is if the player says yes, I'm going to sign that deal, that becomes binding, which most likely it will for the most part until they sign the deal. It keeps them they're expected to be on that said team in which they said they were signed to. So it doesn't give them the opportunity to be like, okay, yes, I will sign this deal, and make it put the onus on the losing team to come back and be like, okay, we'll make a better offer. Now is not it that they can, because they can just be like, yo, Detroit is offering me X amount of dollars, but if we can make some work here, I'll be open to staying here. And then they go on behind the scenes to be like, okay, this is what we'll do. So of course they're very sure there's going to be different player teams and stuff vying for different players. But in this case, in which you're talking about, Nikola Vucevic, uh, drafted by the Orlando Magic, played I think 7 or 8 years in the Magic uniform. Excuse me, played the last 3 or 4 years in Chicago, up for opportunities to either one be brought back or uh, be moved to a different team. What I will say is I think he's going to play. It's just now wonders where. I don't think he hasn't reached that point yet. He still could be serviceable. He's not the best when it comes to being a center. He's not your protect the rim type center or anything like that. He can get you buckets. He may every once in a while get you a couple of rebounds, but he's still serviceable to where I think if you was to get him on the right team, uh, he could be a problem. Of course, as a standalone center, not maybe the best, but if you get him in the where he's can move to maybe a power forward or something like that, you might be cooking with oil with that in Nikola Vucevic, which of course I got to shout out my man, uh, a USC alumnus. Um, so I'm always going to give good praise for him. I mean, legitly and honestly where it needs to be. So, but Nikola Vucevic, I would usually be like, "Hey, bring him to LA," but I don't know about that. I don't think we need Nikola Vucevic in LA, not as a 6'10" backup center, and pay that money for him to sit on the bench unless he was unless he was about that life and wanted to get the veterans minimum. Um, who else we got? Let's go down to Dallas. So of course Dallas brought in Derek Lively the second, 12th overall, 25th overall pick, and Olivier Maxime Prosper. Um, Currently sitting with 7 8 free agents, that being Dwight Powell, unrestricted, Theo Pinson, unrestricted, Frank Talinka, unrestricted, Markeith Morris, unrestricted, Mike Conley Wright is a restricted free agent, Christian Wood is unrestricted, as well as Justin Holiday and Kyrie Irving, all unrestricted players, which means Dallas currently has a grip to play with for the most part of bringing back. Of course, the most highly sought after, one of the most highly sought after, Kyrie Irving is in the fray. Does Dallas allow for Kyrie Irving to be scooped, or does Kyrie Irving remain in the fray, in the fold? Bring back, maybe does Christian Wood come back now, even though you have Derek Lively II, Olivier or Maxine to play at those positions? That affords Christian Wood to be picked up by someone else. Actually, I think Christian Wood is a pretty good player. So it'll be interesting to see if Dallas lets him walk. Was it just a experiment to see bring him in, play alongside Luka? No difference in Kyrie, but it remains to be seen. Looking at the Denver Nuggets and their roster, of course, they traded Maxwell Lewis, who they picked up in the 40th selection. He ended up being traded to the Lakers. I forgot what they gave up for him. But of course, they have Thomas Bryant, Colin Gillespie, Jeff Green, Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan, Jack White, Ish Smith, on as well as Bruce Brown coming up as free agents. Bruce Brown on the player option still hasn't said whether or not he is going to decline or accept his player option. Actually, correction, he declined this option, which made sense in his regard. Coming off of, I was very against it, looking at the fact of, again, lied to you, Larry Lays. The Denver Nuggets gave him opportunity. He took the opportunity, parlayed it into an NBA champion. Now he has that to take away, and then as opposed to play it out to build on that to show that he is this dude and possibly pick up a extension during the year, he decides, I'm going to cut sling low. I'm going to opt out of this $6 million I'm due to earn this year for a better payday, which he potentially will get. I'm very sure Denver's going to see what they can. We're going to really see what his value is to the Denver Nuggets. If they feel like he is one of the core players, or if they was like, yeah, well, there's plenty more like you out here, and go on from there, or replace him. So that remains to be seen. Going in, other Golden State, of course, had 2 picks. Brandon Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis, 19th and 57th overall picks. Currently, with player options, Draymond Green and Dante Vincenzo, who both opted out of their contracts, different contracts, but they opted out. Draymond at $27 million, Dante at $6 million. JaMychal Green, unrestricted free agent. Andre Iguodala, who has decided to retire. So with the retirement of Andre Iguodala, as well as Udonis Haslem, LeBron James has taken over the mantle as the oldest player in the league. Lester Quinones and Ty Jerome, both restricted free agents. I think 2-way players. Anthony Lamb is restricted free agent as well. No, I can't go nowhere until I do my fabulouses. The Los Angeles Lakers currently, Jalen Hood Schifino picked up with the 17th overall selection. They took their pick at 40 and traded it to Denver. I can't remember who the player was, but they have Maxwell Lewis. A huge list of free agents at this point. Malik Beasley, who has a team option, I'm very sure they're going to bring him back. Troy Brown Jr., Wayne Gabriel, Ryu Hachimura, Scottie Pippen Jr., 2-way players restricted. D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, Lonnie Walker IV, Tristan Thompson, all unrestricted free agents. So the interesting point of this is how many of them is LA willing to bring back, or do they bring back at this point? I'm very sure Tristan Thompson is not coming back. Let's just keep it real. I know focal point on Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, most likely, probably Malik Beasley as well, even though, honestly, all those minus Rui Hachimura basically went to sleep during the postseason. Couldn't find him. Lonnie Walker, although he did have a excellent showing versus Golden State in the second round, a couple of games, but for the most part, Lonnie Walker was not present. Inconsistency. Um, D'Angelo Russell, same thing in the sense, showed up in a couple of games during the series versus Golden State, but hiding in the series versus Denver. Lonnie Walker, same thing. Um, Mike Beasley just didn't get any real burn, honestly. When you look at it, that was more so on Coach Ham. So it's interesting to be seen to see what the Lakers are going to do. Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to resign? They haven't resigned anyone at this point. So I'm very sure they're out talking and engaging with people to see who it is. Of course, there was a rumor that they were going to probably finally get their chance to bring in um, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner from the Pacers, which was very coveted at one point. At this point, I don't think I would want them. Let's move on and keep it pushing and go on. They're in. They're over in Indiana, bottom of the barrel still. So, are they really? Will they change our organization and franchise around? That was what remains to be seen. So at this point, I just was just going to other things. Um, yeah, so we're going to see though. It's definitely going to come into a place to where we're going to be seeing a lot of movement in the coming days if we don't see it already. Um, to have an understanding of how everything's going to fall apart or how it's going to be done. So um, even the teams are going to sink or they're going to swim. Of course, I'm particularly concerned about my particular team, but really to listen to see how everyone does, what's going to go on. So before you get up out of here, of course, I'm going to get to talk about some of the pigskin um, to where a couple actually hold up before I shift. Let me take a look at something. I think I did put some stuff on the burner. I think actually some of this I'm gonna hold to talk about. 1 second. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and move into football, right? Not college football yet. NFL football. So what with the season coming up, we already know the league has already put out the schedule. Excuse me. We're currently, for the most part, in the last week of July. I mean, last week of June, which means there's only roughly about 45 days, roughly, before we get into the preseason season, preseason of the NFL, and then after that, get into the regular season with I think the first games kicking off September 7th. Now what we have is we're back into the thick of things, right? Of course, pushing and saying, hey, saying fantasy football, which we're going to get that cracking again. Definitely know that is going to happen. So if you're if you heard the action and conversation, let me know. Hit me up. Let me know if you want to get into the first formation, second annual uh fantasy football league. Hit me up, let me know so I can make sure I can take you in consideration. Look at what the platform we're going to be this year and go from there. If we grow some, of course, last year's champion with an asterisk was that Bishop the Goat edging out um, Paris Daniel, of course, even though his players he missed some points due to the uncost situation in Buffalo with Darren Hamlin, who in the Cincinnati Bengals, who ill afforded the opportunity for those points to be counted because it wasn't a complete game. But in case we got the games going, they're finna go. Top tier offenses and defense getting ready to lock in. So one of the things I want to talk about briefly, real quick, is what offenses potentially can be taking a leap ahead with what they have picked up in players, what they have picked up in now, what their schedules put them in. Who is taking leaps and bounds ahead at this point, offensively and defensively? Like, there's only one really for me that comes out that I think is going to, well, actually two, honestly. I would say two. That I think is going to really be tapped in and keyed in when it comes to the offenses and defenses of this upcoming season. And that one, without a clear doubt, I think is going to really make a huge improvement is that of the Chicago Bulls. Bears. I think the Bears are going to be locked in. They added DJ Moore. They get a full year with Chase Claypool. Opportunity for Justin Justin Fields to come back and be ready. Uh, have a lone back that in Mooney to where he's not splitting the carries or trying to fight to get more carries. They added a tight end, which I think is not bad at with Robert Tunyon, um, as um, he played with Aaron Rodgers and proved that he could be a serviceable running back. I mean, tight end. Kimmich is still in the fold. So I really think that Chicago is going to see a turnaround in their offense with it said and done. Of course, they were the 22nd, or well, correction. Um, in total offense, they was third to bottom. Fifth from the bottom at 28, and then only scoring uh, the top 23 was a 23rd team is offensive scoring. I think that's going to see a huge turnaround. Oh, Deontay Freeman as well, another player in the backfield. So Mooney and Freeman, I think it'll be something that's going to give fits in the backfield as a running back by committee. Not saying automatic 1,000 yard rushers, but definitely put some pressure on the line of scrimmage. Uh, and like I said, more now as a potential top running back, Chase Claypool. Um, I think Chicago is going to be that team. The other team, of course, I think is going to make a move, and improve more so. Maybe getting back to where they're the championship. I mean the MVP caliber um, play got him that trophy is the Baltimore Ravens. I think we have it signed where Lamar Jackson, now that he has a little serviceability and hopefully in a wide receiver, more of a wide receiving core than he's probably had, to couple with his ability to move the pocket, get up the field, and all that type of stuff is going to be very beneficial to him. Additionally, also maybe having before his running back rule was runneth over. Now the opportunity to probably get another top tier running back out there, even maybe a wide receiver. But there's options to better that offense. But currently, if it's current state, I think I'm not going to say leaps and bounds because there's probably not too much. They're only looking to improve better than last year as opposed to anything else. I think I think Baltimore is going to be able to turn the corner and is going to be a problem this year. Um, as far as defenses, um, I would say in defense, probably, I think that will go to, wow. Um, the Dolphins. I was about to say the Eagles, but I think that's going to be the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins make a play, become a better team, show that they're going to be a little better on defense. Uh, Not just based off of um, Jalen Ramsey coming into the fold, but I mean Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Christian Wilkinson, they have dogs on that offense currently. And you got to think, Miami technically is always sitting around in the offense from a defensive standpoint. So, with that being said, they went, like you said, added a, I'm not going to say lockdown corner. Is Jalen Ramsey the lockdown corner? Is he still that type of premier DB that is going to lock down one side of the field and make it to where no one wants to go to that? It remains to be seen. But if he can pull that off, then you might have it to where Miami might be making some more noise. Just going 8-8 a year before last year, going 9-8, taking consideration what they had to deal with losing their franchise quarterback uh, early in the season, midway through the season. Before that, they was putting pressure, applying pressure to some of the top teams in the NFL. That being, of course, um, uh, Buffalo, and a couple of other ones. So Miami might be a team to take a look at this year. Their defense, I think, is going to change the game, become a little more potent and a little engaging. Um, so I think those are some top tier games, top tier. I mean, tier middle of the road or even dismal game sides of the ball that are going to make a complete and utter change this year. So you heard it first. Hear me speaking on it. Of course, I wonder if my beloved 49ers are going to be able to turn the corner. What comes to there? They're just a question mark at this point. So I try not to stray for there because I don't want to say nothing yet. Still got some time. I want to make sure I get all my thoughts together before I engage and be like, yeah, they're going to be this, that. I still think they're going to win the West in the NFC, NFC West. So I think they'll be division champions, maybe 4-2 in that division, if not 6-0 or 5-1. So anywhere between that, I don't think they go 500 or less in the division. But of course, we have some things to work on. Brock Purdy trying to get back in the fray of things. Sam Darnold pushing Trey Lance. At this point, depending on what this season holds, we might see Trey Lance might end up having the lead. I don't know. Of course, looking at the Dallas Cowboys, taking that into consideration, Cowboys, I think actually they might do a turnaround too. They might have got stronger. They added a piece or two on offense and defense, um, so we might see something in that way as well. So never know. But of course, I want to go ahead and end the day for the day. Glad to have y'all back on this early weekend. Tomorrow we'll be able to talk about who is the College World Series champion now. Is it LSU making another probable run and adding yet um, another notch in their belt of champions after just coming off the women's national championship and winning, and additionally, not too far removed from the men in the men's in college as well as the other major sports. Or will we be talking about Florida making their trek back to the winner's circle? We'll be looking and see has there been any more movements in reference to the NBA and the upcoming free agency, college football, of course, slight talk about the women's game in the WNBA. So always something to speak about. I look forward to speaking to y'all. It's a weekday, beginning of the week. Be sure to keep it easy. Make it to the end of the week. As we know, I believe this is the 4th of July weekend. So please be sure to go out, enjoy yourselves. The summer is dwindling down. We'll be back at it again. But we'll be back at it again tomorrow, 0900 Central Standard Time. I look forward to speaking to y'all. So, with that point, I bid y'all a great adieu, and I'll holler at you tomorrow. Peace.